Slide point number 4 about the understanding structure. So you learn about the disadvantage of unstructured. They call it spaghetti code because somehow it very is a common mistake for the first time you work the coding here, right? You just think about what you have and you plug them together and you mix them together, right? That's why they mentioned that the good practice when you do the coding here. The first step, stop. You have to do with the planning first. Right? It's not jump into the coding here, otherwise very easy for you to make mistake here. And you learn about the three basic structure here: sequence, the selection, and loop. Right? You learn about the process using the programming input to structure program. That is the process we learned about the mainline logic already. And the need for structure, and you have a step to recognizing structure and structuring and modularizing unstructured logic. Yeah, that's the first step here. You mentioned about spaghetti code here. It's something about unlogically, right? It often is a complicated mess and program often work with, but it works, but it's very difficult to read and maintain program here. It's very easy. It's very easy for confusing and prone to the error here. What is the structure program? Of course, it's not follow the rule of structure logic here, right? So that is one example of unstructured logic here, and later on I explain it why they are in structure here. But anyway, if you look on this one here, you can see it's unstructured here because they are mixing together. They are mixing together. You think about this one here, right? You check the condition here, you go back, and check it again. Every loop here, they are mixing together. They are netted, but in not the way you totally net it. And later on, when you learn about net loop here, you have to make sure that you put the net loop, you have to put the loop totally inside the other one here. But this one, you are mix them together, right? Okay. I explain it later what is wrong with this one here. But anyway, the first step here, you learn about the structure. So basically, in every program, it is a combination of three structures: sequence and selection and the loop here. You see, in any program, it is a combination of the three structure here, right? It can be the sequence, it can be the selection, or it can be loop here. Sequence, that means you do one by one. You do the one by one here. The sequence structure here perform action or start in order. In the order from the first statement to the second statement to the third one, and so on here. It's in the order, right? You have no branching or skipping any task here. You do it in the order. You do it in the order here, right? That's the first one. The second one is a selection structure here. Selection structure or decision structure here, you have the question to ask. You ask the question here, and you can take one or two action based on testing condition here. They are known as the evaluating the Boolean expression. That's why I mentioned it is a truth table and the logic about the and, about the or, about the not, and XOR, and so on, right? Because you need to do with the decision here. It's correct or not? That's the reason we learned about the truth table, right? Okay. So basically, in the selection structure here, you make sure that you only have the question here to ask, right? If you choose, you do something. If you not choose, you do the other thing. Okay? And they often call it if then else here, and you can have the dual alternative or single alternative. Later on, I explain what is a dual alternative and what is a single alternative here. And the third one is a loop structure here. It is a loop. That means you have the repeat action while the condition remains true. That's that one we learn here, right? So we have the condition here to test. If the condition true, you go to the body of the loop, right? So when you've done everything inside the body of the loop, you go back to check the condition again. And if true, you go to the body of the loop and do it again and again until the condition is not true here, right? Okay. So basically, again, I mentioned it. Basically, for any program, it is a combination of three structures here. You can see it for any program. It is just a combination of three structure here: sequence structure, selection structure, and loop structure here. Now, with the first one, with the sequence structure, it works one by one. You see in the case here, the first statement here, the second statement here, and the third statement here. You do it in the order. Think about this one here, right? You have X is 2, Y is 5, and Z is X plus 2. Plus Y here. You do it in the order, one by one. Okay? Now, the second structure here is a selection. The second structure here is a selection here, right? So in the case of the selection, right? Or decision here. You see, you have the condition here to check. Right? And if yes, you do it in the other end. If no, you do it in the other end here. They call it the branching. Right? So you remember that in the case of the selection here, you can either do this way or this way, but you cannot do both of the branch at the same time. Make sense? Right? Either this way or this way. You cannot do both of them at the same time. You think about I make decision here if you are able to vote or not. So in order to vote, right, you have to be greater than or equal to 18 here. So I have the condition here to check, right? If you are greater than or equal 18, you are able to vote here, right? And no vote here. So see, it's based on the age here, right? You can either work with the vote or not vote here, but you cannot do the two actions at the same time, right? In the case of the selection here, okay? Now that is the case of the selection. You can see in the case of, and in the case of the selection here, they break it down into dual alternative or single alternative. Dual alternative, that means you have two branches. You have two actions to do it, right? So think about this one here, right? You determine here, you get the age from the user, and you make decision here if he's able to vote it or not. Now see, that is a step here, right? I get input. I do the program here. I have start and stop. That the action I do with the declaration. I only have one variable in my program here, right? I get it from the user. And this is the process. This is a prompt here, right? You know that is a prompt. Prompt is a tell user what to do here. And I start into the variable name and age here. Okay, so now when I got it from the user, I make decision here to tell if he is eligible to vote or not, right? So I check with my condition here. If age is greater than or equal 18, I work with this one, right? So remember, only one of them is executed in the case decision here, right? So if he enter number 20 here, this one correct, you execute this one, but you do not execute this one, right? But if he enters number 16 here, you see, this one is not correct, you skip it, but you execute this one. So remember in the case of the decision here, you break it down into branch, but make sure that you only have one branch executed over. And later on, when you learn about nested decision, you have a multiple decision also. And for any other case, you only have one branch to be executed here. Okay. And the third one is that is the case of the single alternative, right? The single alternative here. And also sometimes you have the sorry, that is dual. My mistake. That is dual alternative because you have two branch. You have two branch here. If correct, I do this one. If not correct, I do this one. And in some case also we have the single alternative also. Single alternative, that means if yes, you do something, but not yet. You do other. You don't do anything. You don't do anything here. I think about if employee belong to the dental plan, then deduct 40 from employee gross pay here. Right? So we see L here is not required. So if he is a dental plan, deduct it. Otherwise, don't do anything. Don't do anything here. Now that is the case here. That is the case of the single alternative here. So we see this program here, right? Start and stop here. I do the declaration. I get the input from user. Again, I start into the variable name h here. So I check the condition. If true, I do something here, right? But not true, I don't need to do anything with this one, right? Okay. So that is about the selection. The third one is a loop here. The loop structure it's an action that you repeat a set of action while condition is remain true. That means you go to the body of the loop. So remember that in the case of the loop, you have the condition here to test. And if the condition is true, you go to the loop body and you do everything in the loop body. And again, when you do with everything a statement in the body of the loop, you have to go back to check the condition again. Right? And if the condition again is true, you go to the body of the loop again and do it again and again and again until the condition is not true here. Now that is the case here, right? So see, you in the case of the loop structure here, you can work with the while or for. Later on, we learn about for, but this one here, right? So here, if while the test condition continue to be true here, you go to the body of the loop, you do it again and again and again here, right? So in this case here, you look into the loop structure here, we see you have a condition here to check, right? And if yes, that is the body of the loop here. So see what happened here. when you execute every body of the loop, now at the end, you have to come back to check it again. If the condition true again, you have to go to the body of loop and do it again and again and again until the condition is not true. Okay? That is the case. I did it with the pseudocode and Python in the module number 2 and 3 already, right? So that is a program. It's very simple program here. That is very simple program, right? So this is a program that asks user to enter a number. So every time if the user enters a number, user prints out double that number here, right? Double that number here. So you see, I got the number here, right? I got the number from user. I stored into the variable name number here. Now that is the loop here because you see the y here, right? So y is number is not equal to 0. What happened? I just double the number. I just print it out that number, and I need to get the new number here. So when I get the new number here, you see, I go back to check here. If the number is not 0, I do it again. I do it again and again and again and again until the user enters the number 0 here. Okay, that is the case. You work the loop here. So that is when you work with the Python here. But later on, I work with the Python here. So I mentioned that for any program, basically that is a combination of 3 structures. You can see it in any program. It's a combination of 3 structures here. Sequence structure, you have the selection structure, and you have the loop structure here, right? Or the logic program, it can be solved using only sequence, selection, and loop. Any program, right? And structure can be combined in an infinite number of ways, right? So we can do it. You can combine them in the way of stacking here. Stacking, that means you put one on top of another and so on, right? Or you can work with the method here. You can work the method structure here. So what is it? This one here. You look on this one here, right? If we look on this one program here, so we see in this program here, the structure here, the first one is a sequence. You do step A and step B here, right? Now, after that, you do with the selection here, right? If yes, you do with the step B. Sorry, you work with step B. If no, you go to step B here. Now, after that, you have the loop here, right? So we see the condition of the loop here. So remember that the difference between the selection and the loop is that the loop, you only have action to come back to do it again and again. But the selection, you just check the condition and you break it down into branch and so on. You do not have the action to come back here. Right? But for the loop, you see, you have the condition here, and if yes, you see, that is a process they call the loop here, because you come back to check it again and again and again. Right? Okay. So I think you guys can take a break for 5 minutes and we come back. Okay, so let's go on. So if you look in the slide here, so basically that is a case of the stacking, because I have the selection, right? At the end, I have the loop, right? I put the selection on top of the loop, and I put the sequence on the top of that here, right? So that is a stack. You do it one by one here. But sometimes you can work the method here, right? In any individual task or step of structure here can be replaced by a structure, right? And the netting structure here, that means you're placing one structure within another. You want to put another structure in within another here. And in that case here, make sure that you indent the netted structure statement here. Right? And also we have definition of group. A block here. Block is a group of statements that execute a single event. Now, think about the case here. You can give me any example that is the case you want to put the selection inside the loop. Give me any example. You want to put the selection inside the loop. Now give me the example. In any case, in any program, you tell me any program that you want to put the selection inside the loop. Think about that. Any program. You have a lot of examples you can think about. Now, come back to my example here. Come back to my example, right? I have the make decision here if someone is eligible to vote or not. Right? That is selection. Right? And if it's greater than or equal 18, he's eligible. If not, I do it for one people only. Right? I do it in my program here. I do in my program here. In my program. Here. I do it for one time only. Because I just ask what is your age and I make the decision. That right? But think about this one. Think about this one here. If I want to do it for multiple employee, sorry, if I want to do it for multiple employee, so for multiple user here, I can do the loop, right? I can do the loop with this one here. So that is a case. I put the selection inside the loop here. Now think about this one. Right? I have my program here. Right? Think about this one. I just copy it here. I paste it into the node here, so I can show you here with this one. Right? This one work with only one user. Right? But now I think about this one here. I want to do it for multiple user here. Right? So for multiple holder, right? So I have name here. Right? I have name is string here. Now think about this one. String here, right? So now I can do it here. I can do it here. If I want to do it for multiple name, right? So I put here that is wrong, right? And the name and the X to active. Okay. Okay. So now that's output, not here. Okay. So now I have input here. Name, right? I start in the name. So now I work the loop here. So see, I work the loop here, right? Why name is not, right? It's not X. Right? I do it. Right? I do here. This one, it is everything about the selection here, right? What? And of course, at the end, I need to get a new name to come back to the loop here. Make sense? That is the case. You put selection inside the loop, right? Now, what is my program here? My program. What is your name? Huh? My program. When I execute here, what is your name? Huh? What is your name? So if the customer answer A here, user answer A, I go to the loop here because A is not active, right? So what is your age? So if he enter 20 here, you are eligible. So again, what's the name? B, right? If he enter the 16 here, not eligible to vote. And what's the name again? C, you have the 30 here, eligible to vote. And so on. That is the case here. That is example. You put here. See, this one here. That everything here is a selection. You netted it inside the body of the loop here. Right? See, Y and this one and Y here. Right? That is a loop. Make sense? And you see, you put the selection totally inside the loop here. Right? And you do it for multiple quarter. A, B, C, D, and for each of them, you make decision here is eligible to vote or not. Right? Okay. That is the case you work with the method here. Now I ask you another question here. Give me the example if you put the loop inside the selection. You think about anything it happen in your daily life. What is a give me the scenario in that case you want to put the loop inside the selection. You have many examples. Think about that. In any case, if you want to put the loop inside the selection or not. Think of that. Now, I give you 5 minutes to think. Actually, you have many things you happen in life. Give me an example. You can take it. If you want to put the loop inside the selection. You are a student, right?
We'll say like if your grade is above a 60, then you passed, right?
That is selection only.
Oh.
That is a yeah. But I'm asking you that you give the example that in some case you want to put a loop inside. You put the loop and you net it inside the selection.
You put like the grade loop inside a section. Like, are you taking this class? Yeah. Like, if yes, then do the grade loop.
Okay, that's one, right? So yeah, think about this one, right? You raise the question, right? That's the decision, right? Are you at depth? Do you take at depth 120 or not? And depth 120 or not? No. If no here, you don't do anything, right? If yes, yes. If yes, yes. You can do the loop here, right? Now, what is the first score? What is the first score? What is the second score? What is the third score? And keep adding up to add them up together. That's okay, right? So think about it. What is it? Or are you at depth or not? And yes here, right? So I give you the example here. Now you have think about you have 10 assignment, right? You have the 10 assignment here, right? So we think about this one here. You have the you insert there, you have to do the counter, right? You have the counter, it's number 1. And now if the counter, right? If the counter here less than number 10, less than or equal number 10, right? What is the first one? What's the second one? What's the third one? What's the fourth one? What's the fifth one? And ninth one? And you sum it up together, right? And you print it out. What is the sum of that still? That's okay. Actually, you have many scenarios here. In the case you want to put the loop inside the selection. I think about it. If he's not the at depth 120, you don't do anything. If he's at depth 120 student, right? And now you do the loop. The first assignment score, the second assignment score, the third assignment score, and you can sum it up together, and you can figure it out the average, and so on. You have many cases you want to put the loop inside the selection here, right? But anyway, that's the way I want to mention here, that the way that in any program, actually it is a combination of 3 structures. And you can stack them together, or you can net them in each other. Right? Anyway, any program, it's a combination of 3 structures. Yeah, so this one here, and this one here. If you look on this structure, what do you think? What is the structure of this program? What is the structure of this program? Can you see what is the structure of this program? Do you have a look here? No, right? You know that if you look, for sure you have to you need to have action to come back to check the condition here. But you see, this one you do not have that. Sorry. Yeah, this one here you do not have action to come back here. So you do not have loop here. So this one is a selection, right? You check the condition here. If no, we don't do anything. If yes, you do step here. So this is a sequence. You do it one by order here, and this sequence here, you netted it in the selection. Make sense? That's structure here. You netted the sequence here into the selection. Right? If yes, you do with the sequence by sequence and sequence. Okay? Okay, so this one here, right? You have the netted structure, a sequence netted within the selection. Now the second one. What is the structure of this program? Tell me, what's the structure of this program? What is structure of this program?
And a loop nested inside the selection.
Yes, right. Actually, you have the loop. You net it in the selection, and you net it in. Sorry, you net it into the sequence, and you net it into the selection here. Right? You see this one here. This one is a loop, right? Because you have action to come back and come back, right? And this one, step by step here, that is a sequence. And you see, you net it inside the selection here. So you have many ways you do the combination here in any program. But anyway, it's always a combination of the three structure with sequence and selection and the loop here. Right? So you see, you have the loop here, right? Because you see, you have the loop here. That is a loop here. You net it within the selection, right? Sorry, within the sequence. And all of the block here, you see, all of the block here, it is one branch of the selection. That's why you net it into the selection here. Okay. How about this one? How about this one? How's this one? Right? How about this one? This one already listed here, right? No, this one is not. How about this one? Now, if you look on the structure here, what is it?
Selection.
Yeah, see, you have to look it from inside out, right? You have to look in. You have the selection here, right? Selection here. In what?
Inside a loop.
Yeah, because you see this one here. Break it down. Yeah, yes, do something. No, do something. But what happened here? After that, you go to the loop here, right? So you have the selection here. You put inside the loop, right? And again, the loop here. You put it in the sequence. And again, the sequence here. You put it inside the selection again. Right? That is the case of structure here. Okay. So that is a loop netted as a sequence. Okay, that you see, that is a case here, right? The thing about that structure here, right? You have the selection you put inside the loop, and the loop here you put it inside the sequence, and again the whole block here you put it inside the selection. Okay. We planting the flower for this year? Yes, you buy flower in pot here. Now it's still fraud here. So we see that is a loop here. You check it again, it's still possible here. Is fraud still possible here? You check it here. Is over 50 or not, right? If yes, you do this one. If no, you do this one. And keep doing it here until you have no fraud here. Right? So when you know fraud here, you plant the flower in the ground. Okay. So remember, whatever it is, when you combine them together, the structure program has the following characteristic here. Include only combination of three basic structures. That's why I mentioned. Right? Whatever it is, you mix them together, you stack them together, or you netted them together, it only includes the combination of the three basic structure here. If you have four, that means that you made it up here, right? Okay. And remember here, that's very important. Each structure here only have one single entry point and the single exit point only. Or whatever structure it is, you see all of them program here. You see all of them here, right? You see for the selection here, you have one input here and you have one output here, right? For the loop also, you have one input here, the loop here, right? And you have one output here. For whatever it is, for any structure here, you only have one input and one output only. You only have one input and one output. And structure can be stacked or connected to one another only at the entry or exit point only. Remember that. Only the entry or the exit point only. So because that is something you make the mistake here because you exit it not at the exit point. Okay. And any structure can be netted within another structure. That's what I show you here, right? And okay, so basically for structure here. And some of the program here I mentioned about is the program in the case you work with the mainline logic, right? You use a priming input here. So what is the priming input? Priming input is a read the first input data record, right? And remember here for the priming input here, it is outside the loop. It's outside the loop, right? That's the rest of record here, and it have to keep the program structure here, right? And analyze the flowchart for structure one step by one. So if you watch for the instructor loop, it not follow this order. Do not first ask question, right? takes action based on the answer and returns the answer question again. Now, if you look into prime input here, I think about this one. Think about, I make a very simple program in this one. I think. When I go back to my slide. This one, right? That is example of when you work with the prime input here. That's an example when you work with the prime input. So again, this very simple program, right? That is a keep asking user enters a number. So every time user enters a number, it's not every time if the user enters a number not zero, user double that number, you print it out that number here, and you do it again, keep doing it again and again and again until when the user enters number zero. Right? So the process here, the code is the prime input. The process here, the code is up prime input because you need to initialize it before you go to the loop here, right? It has more structured program. So you need to initialize before you go to the loop. And that is actually the prime input. The prime input here, remember the prime input here, you only do it one time only. And outside and before the loop, right? Outside before the loop. And after that, you see, you got the number here, you check if the number here is not equal to zero, you just double the number, you print it out, and you see the third step here, you get the new one and do it again and again and again and again until when the user enters the number zero. Okay, that is the process of prime input. Okay, if you look on this one here, if you look on this program here, now tell me, this one structure or not, or anything going wrong with this program? Anything going wrong with this program here? Now tell me. If you look on this one follows the mainline logic here. If you look on in my structure here, tell me what going wrong with this program? Just remember about what you learned about the mainline logic. What go wrong with this program? So basically, this one works. The purpose of this one works the same with my example here. You got the number. You check the condition here. And now if yes, you just double the number and print it out the double here.
You don't have an input inside the loop.
Yes. Right. So what wrong with this one here? What wrong with this program here? You got the input number here, right? And you check its number. Not think about it. Not zero here. You double the number. You print it out here. But what happens? You need to get the new value of the number here in order to come back to the loop, right? If not, it stays the same. It stays the same, and you have infinity loop here. You do it again and again and again forever, right? So in this program here, you can see it's this program. You see with this program here, right? So I go back to my think about I show you how to work with the loop here, so you can clearly observe what's going wrong with this one. So basically, that program works exactly the same with the way in the flow chart here. Yeah, right. So see, you got the number, right? You check the condition here, you double the number, and you print it out the number. Now you see you follow here. You get the number, you check. I think about this one is if number is not zero, right? Yes, you double the number here. You print it out here, right? Okay, so that program works exactly the same with my program here. But you see, you have a huge problem with this one. You have a huge problem with this program, right? Think about if the user enters the number 5 here, right? If the user enters the number 5 here. So I store into the variable my number here. Number. And I start number 5. Right? So you see, I check the condition here. Number is not 0 because 5 here is not 0. It's correct. Right? So what happened? I just assign my answer here. My answer. And put it number 10 here because right? You see, my number 5 times 2, I have number 10, right? And I print it out number 10. So what happened? My program come back to check it again, right? My number here, it always stay at 5. That's why it print it out 10, 10, 10, 10 forever. 10 forever. And it is an endless loop here. It's infinite loop here because you do not have action to exit the loop here. Okay? So we see what happened with my program here. You can clearly see what happened with my program. Right? You see when I run it here, use a Python here. Sometimes very well when it work with. But it should be better. I hope. Fine here. Tutorial. My if my Visual Studio Code here. Okay, so we can see this is one. Right? So see what happened here. I put it, and it keep doing it. It keep doing it forever, right? Because the reason that I do not have action to change the new number. Otherwise, it stays the same with 8. And you know that when it stays the same with 8, the condition is always true. That's why I keep doing it forever, right? So basically, you see that basically in the tree of the main logic here. How can I edit this one? Control C. That's why you see at the end of the body loop here, right? You always have action. You always have the action to get a new number. And the my number here is the one who controls the loop. Right? That's why you have initialize before the loop here. You check the condition here, and at the end you have action to get a new number. Otherwise, it's an ending loop. Right? That is the mainline logic, and we work with the logic here. That's why you see there's something going wrong with this one because in order to correct it here, you need to get a new number, right? You need to get a new number for this one. Right? And in order to correct this one here, you need to get a new number. You have to have action to get a new number. Make sense? Okay. And this one also. This one is just it's not structured logic here because you see in the case of the work with the mainline logic and param input here, you have to initialize before the loop, outside the loop here. Not you put it inside the loop, right? You don't put it inside the loop here. Yes, that is the correct one here, right? That is a structured one here. You see, you initialize the variable that the prime input. You do it one time only, right? So inside the body of the loop here, inside the body of the loop, you make sure that you have the action to get a new number here. Okay, so basically, in order to understand for the structure, right? The reason you want to do the structure program here, you use the structure program for clarity, right? So if you look at the structure program, very easy for you to identify each of the block here. Like very easy for you to do the debugging and analyze here, right? Unstructured program are very confusing. Professionalism as a program expect to do it. The thing about it's not only your program, but you can work with a teamwork or you can hand over to the other guy here. It's very easy for you, for them to follow your work here because you follow structure, you follow the standard here, right? Efficiency, more language supported. Maintenance here as the programmer find it easier to read, and modularity easily broken down into the module. So one of the big benefit when you work with structure here, you work modularity. Break it down into more smaller module and very easy for you to work with the module to reuse the code and very easy for you to debug the program here. All right, so think about this one here, right? Some of the structure here, you see, you have the A here, and you do the selection here. If yes, you do the C here, and this one also, right? This one here, you go to that one is the loop, right? You have the loop here. You check for the condition here, and if not, you go back to the loop and do it again and again. Okay. Now, for this one here, if you look on this program here, now tell me, you do it one by one. What's going wrong with this one? What is going wrong with this one? If you what is going wrong with this program, this is this structure. What is going wrong with this structure? Now you analyze here, right? That's the first here. Right? Now the second one here is this one here, right? The third one here is a selection. This one is selection structure, right? This is a selection here. Now the fourth one here, you have no, you go with the Z here, right? If yes, you work with the I here. I here again, what is it? Selection, right? Selection again. So now this one, don't do it here. Don't do it here. The reason is don't do it here because you know that when you work selection, you have the branches, and each of the branch they are independent, right? So you cannot jump from this branch to other one, or you cannot jump from this one to the other one. You cannot do that. In the case of selection, you know that either you are greater than 18 or not. You cannot both greater than 18 and less than 18 here, right? So basically for this one here, you see, if you want to correct it here, you cannot jump over there. But if you want to correct, you need one action here. I understand that you want to do the next action J here for both of them, right? But you cannot jump from this branch to another branch here. You have to separate it. You have to make sure you separate it here. So that is the correct one here, right? And you see, that is the key. You work is the correct one here, right? You see, whatever you now it's you follow the flow here, right? If no, you do the Z, exit it here, right? If yes, again, you check the I here. If no, you do the Z, you exit it here. And if yes, you do the K and you exit here. So we see in that case, make sure for any structure here, you only have one input and one output only. Right? You have one input and one exit only. Okay, that's the case you want to do the structure program here. Now we come back to this program here, right? You come back to this program here. In the case at the beginning, they mentioned about spaghetti code here, right? About spaghetti code here, right? Because they are totally messy together. They are totally messy together. You have loop inside the. Actually, it's not inside the loop. If you put loop inside the loop, it's okay, but you are mix them together, right? So now, well, if you analyze this program here, if you analyze this program here, you can see what's going wrong with the program. Yeah, if you want this one here, right? Now this one is good. You see, you have the initialize here, right? You check the condition here and you do it and again and again. That is the loop. That is normal loop here. But this one here, right? This one here, the number 2 here, again, right? You've got a loop here. That's not dog run away. You have the loop here and not. You turn off the order here. That's a dog run away. You do see what happened with this one. See what happened with this one here. You see what happened with this one. because the condition here is a condition of this loop, right? You cannot go all over to the other loop here. You cannot. This is a condition of you. You have to come back here only, right? You cannot go all the way to do it again with the other loop here, right? So basically, you have to break it down in the case you work with this one here, right? So now in number 3 here, you can correct it, right? So you see, you can break it down here. Yes, turn off the water, catch a dog here, and you do the loop again, and you see for each of them, you come back to do your action only. You never ever come back to all the do the other action here, right? Never ever do that. Okay. So you see, in the case they work structure program here, you see, in the case they work structure program, they break it down. They break it down into the separate one here, right? This one loop inside the loop here. This one loop inside the loop here. They never ever mix them together. And the good thing about this one here, they can work with the modular structure. You see, what is it here? This one is here, the same as this one. This one here, the same as this one. And this one here, the same as this one. So they just do it, the code for one time, but you can reuse it for multiple times. And that is another benefit when you work structure program. You break it down and you can reuse it here. Okay? So you see that here, right? You can work with the modular structure. You can work with modular structure, and you can do it for multiple times. You can reuse it for multiple times. Okay, so I think that is the case about structure program, right? I mentioned about the structure program here. So in summary, just remember that in the case you work with structure program, is that combination of 3 structure here. It can be the sequence, it can be not this one here. It can be the sequence, or it can be a selection, or it can be loop. And remember, you can combine them together. You can stack them together, or you can net them together. But remember, you have to work structure program. So what is structure program? You have to put one exit for any block only, and one input and one exit only. You cannot mix between them here, right? So if you want to put, you have to put it totally netted in each other here. Okay. So now I go to the sum of the Python here, right? Python overview, right? So I believe that I mentioned about the Python in the module number 2 or number 1 already, but anyway. In the Python, you have multiple ways to run your Python here, right? The first one is an easier way you can work when you install it here, right? So you go to the Python download. And all of you, I believe that you will download it already, right? Because it is the module number 1 assignment. Yeah. So if you have not downloaded it, you can download it here, right? So it has the multiple versions. The one for the Linux here, one for the Mac, or the other one for Windows here, right? So we have to make sure you have to download the correct version and install it on your computer. So when you install it, that is a interface here. That is interface you can go with idle here. You can go with idle and you click the idle here. That is the interface. So basically, when you work with the Python, you can work with 2 modes here. The first one is the interactive mode. That one is it. That one we work with the shell here, interactive mode, right? It's very straightforward. Whenever you enter whatever it is, it's very straightforward here, right? So think about, I want to print it out, right? I want to print it out. Welcome to okay, so we see it's the printed out here. That's the way it's called. It's the interactive mode. Whatever you input here, instantly it send it out the output here, right? Or I can put it here. X here. I assign number 10. I put Y. I assign number 20, and I want to figure out what is the sum of X and Y here. I start into the variable Z here. Right? I start into variable Z here, and now I want to print down. I just put Z here. So we print down number 30. So that is the case. You work with the interactive mode or in the shell here. It's very straightforward. But this one, it works with very short code only. Right? It's a very short code here. And if you want to run it again, every time you have to put it again and again. Right? That is very helpful in the case you want to work with a short code, or in the case very automation code here. But if you want to save it and you want to save it into the file, and you can run it again and again, you don't have to write again here. You work with the script mode here, right? So in the case if you work script mode, you click the file here and you click the new file here, right? The new file here, you see what happened here. New file here is where you write the code here. You write the code here, right? And think about again. I want to use a print function here. Print function here and put. Yeah, that's it, right? So now if I want to save my script file, I just save it here, and by the default, it is saved in the Python file, right? And you can save it anywhere in my desktop here. Think about I save it in my that's it. I save it that's it. Okay. I save it in the file, right? So later on, if I want to open it again, I just click the file, I just open the file. I have to locate to where I save it here. So I save it in the desktop, right? So I click the file here, I open the file again. And this is a script file. And remember that a script file is very helpful that if you just do it one time, but you can run it for multiple times. Right? That is a potential of the script file here, right? So we just do it again, and you run it again and again and again. Right? So that is the case. You want to work with the Python and you want to save in the script file. Make sure that you go to the file here, and click the new file, and you write the code, and you save it in the Python file. And later on, you can run it again and again. Okay. Some are very that I just go over to some are very basic of the Python. So the first with okay. So you can work with the interactive mode, or you can work with script mode here. Now the second thing I want to mention about any program, I mentioned it already, right? So basically for any program, you have the input, you have the processing and output. Right? User input, you need to get it from user, or you need to get it from file or array or whatever it is. Now in the Python, right? In the Python here, in order to get the input from user, you use the input function. Input function here, right? So in the input function here, now that is the input function here. That process here. Think about this one. You use the input function, and remember that whenever you want to use the input function, it strongly recommend you to put the prompt here. Prompt that tell user what to do, right? Otherwise, very confusing. He have no idea what to do here, right? So in the case you want to think about this one here. In my program, I write in my program here. I get the number, right? I get my program, which I don't need. I open it again. I go. And if I want to write my program with script here, I click the file. I go to this one, right? So now I think about I want to write program. As the first step here. Normally in any program, you put the command here. So the command, remember that I explained the benefit of command. It's really helpful for you to follow what's going on in the code here, right? But from the computer point of view, it has no benefit, because when you execute program, the computer will ignore everything in the command here, right? So basically in the Python, if you want to put the command here, you put the hashtag here. Right? This is a program to find out the total of two numbers. That's very simple program. Okay, so you know that in order to find out the total two number, you need to get the two number, right? That is you need to get from user. So in the Python, if you want to get the number from user, you put the you put the variable. Think about number one here is the variable name. You put it on the left, and you use the keyword input here. Input here is input function, and you use the prompt here, right? Please enter number one. You guys can follow me if you want. I know that many of you know how to work the Python here, and this is very simple program here. But anyway, not all of you, so I have to do it from the beginning. Right? Okay, so that's the process. Right? In the Python here, that's the process. You get input from user. Right? So what happened here with this one? Actually, what happened here? You have one slot in the memory, and the name of the slot here it is num1. Right? And now you tell user, please enter the number 1. So if he entered the number 20, you store the number 20 into the variable name number 1 here. Right? And again, I have another variable here. It is number 2. Right? It's number 2. And if the user enter number 30, it stores the number 30 into the variable. Remember, variable is something changeable. Right? Something changeable here. Now, I got the two number here already, and I stored into the variable here. Now I want to find out the total, right? So I put here total. I put it equal to the number one, right? The number 2 here. And in the Python, if I want to print it out, I use a print function here. Print function here. Have the total is I put total here. Okay. So this is very simple program, right? This is very simple program here. The process here, I want to store into the I want to get the two number from user, and I figured out the total, and I have one more here, right? I have one more variable here is the total. And what is it? It is the number 1. Now I start into the number 1 plus 2, and the third one as the next one here. I just print it out here. That is very simple program, right? That is very simple program here. So think about this one. I save it here. I save my program. Right? I save my program here. By default, it's a Python here, right? So I save it into the desktop here. I put total here. So in my program, I have input already, right? I have input here. This is the process I get input. I do the processing. That process I do the thing. And the output here, I just print it out. And remember for the print function, right? Print function here, if you put in everything inside the code mark here, it is literally the text. It put exactly the same, right? But this one, it is a variable and it's changeable. It depends on the number here, right? So that is my program here, and when I execute my program, I got the problem here, and I mentioned it already before. So when I run my program here, I put number 10 here, I put number 20 here. Right? I got the problem with my program here. I know that I expect the total here is a 30. Right? I expect the total here is a 30, but it is 10 and 20 here. What's going wrong with my program? Yeah, because it is string format, right? So remember that I mentioned that. Right? Whatever you got it from the input function here, right? Whatever you get it from input function, it always return in string format. So what is string format? That means it's stored inside the code file, right? So if I put the number 10, it is literally the text number 10. And I put the number 20 here, it is literally the text number. And when I add them up together, it's a process of concatenate. When I concatenate the two strings together, that's why I have number 10 and number 20 here. Because they are in string format, not the number format. So that's why if you want to do with anything with the mathematical number here, you have to convert them into the number format. And in the Python, you have two built-in functions to convert it here. The first one is int. Int, that means you convert it into the integer format. The second one is a float here. You convert it into the floating point format. Okay. So basically for this one here, right? For this my program here, you see if I want to correct it, here, I have to convert it into the number format. Where my number? I don't get. Open it again. Open it again in my desktop here. Total here, right? So now remember that I have to convert it into the integer or floating point, right? So we think about I put it float here. That means I got it, I change it, everything into the number format. I have to put it float, then convert everything from string to the floating point number. And now I can run it again. I save it again. And now my program number 10 here, number 20 here, the total 30, correct? And if I run it again, this time I put number 60 here, and this time I put 100 here, and now the total is 160. It's correct. Right? So basically, in the case you work with the Python here, remember that some very basic step here, right? You can work with the interactive mode one by one, or you can work with the script mode here. You just do it one time, and you do it again, and you run it again and again. And whenever you want to get input from user, by the default, it only returns this string format. And if you want to do with the number processing here, you have to make sure you convert it into the number format. And you have two built-in functions here. The first one is int for integer number. The second one, float, is for floating point number. And when you got the number, you can do some of the processing here. You can add them together, you can subtract them together, multiplication, division, integer division, remainder, and the equal again. That's the percent. And again, for the case of the print it out here, right? The print it out, use the print function. Right? And remember that in the print function, you can use a combination. You can use a combination of literal text here, and the value you store into the variable. Okay. So I think you guys can take a short break for 5 minutes and we come back to give you some activity.